What's up, everybody, and welcome into another exciting edition of Haney and the Hawks, recorded from our awesome new studios here in downtown Lawrence at 916 Massachusetts at Kansas Nation and kansasnation.com. My name is Brian Haney. I'm the voice of the Jayhawks, and each week we get to spotlight the legendary career of a special Kansas Jayhawk from previous days gone by. And our first few episodes have been a little bit deeper into the rearview mirror. Today, we get a chance to talk with a recent star who just hung him up as a Jayhawk in 2024 and now is enjoying life after Kansas football. And we'll talk about what's up next for him straight ahead. You know him as the guy that made one of the biggest catches in the history of Kansas football. Honestly, one of the biggest plays in the history of the entire athletic department. He's the mighty Casey, the pride of Plainville. Jared Casey joins us today. Jared, great to see you, my friend. Thanks a lot for joining us here at Kansas Nation.
Yeah, appreciate you guys having me out. I'm excited for this.
I referenced the fact that you're not too far removed from your KU career and you're still trying to extend your football career at the time that we're taping this. And we try to keep these conversations mostly evergreen, but you're currently pursuing an opportunity in the UFL. We wish you the best of luck on that. But tell me about chasing the dream and how long you're willing to chase what has been your first love your entire life.
Yeah, I would just say that yeah, I've been chasing it since, I was done playing in December and we went through pro day prep and everything, went to um pro day down in Dallas and then went to a few camps, the Chiefs and the Dolphins. And then now I'm gonna go down to Arlington this weekend, try out for the UFL and see where that takes me. So I'm gonna chase it as long as I feel like it's still reachable and attainable. So I'm gonna keep trying to plow away at it.
I love that mindset. And you were chasing the D1 football dream all along, even when D1 offers weren't first coming in for a guy who grew up in a town of 1,700 Class 2A Kansas high school football there in Plainville. And so many probably thought that that dream of major conference D1 football was unattainable, but you always believed. Take me back to those days, your high school days when there were a lot of smaller conference programs or smaller division schools interested, but you were waiting on something big time.
Yeah, it was really, really just you just gotta have to go with the flow, and, as time went on, you really started to have to make decisions, like, it started to get down to crunch time of, whether it's gonna be D1 or am I gonna have to go to a D2 or a JUCO, so, luckily, KU came calling, after a visit, and I got that opportunity, so I'm hoping that a call from the bigger leagues comes up pretty soon, but, it was just a long process, and, it was kinda grueling at points of, question like, am I good enough to play Division One or am I not? And a lot of it comes down to opportunity and chance, and I waited for that. And like I said, I'm still waiting for that right now. But I took it, and it led me to where I am today. So I'm hoping God's got a plan for me, and I'm gonna uh, just do what He has for me and plan. So.
I know he does. I'm excited to see what that plan includes. It's already been a fairy tale story to this point, but take me back to Plainville in particular, because I know on the hardwood, as a basketball player, you were like a 22 point per game guy. On the football field, you dominated as well, but maybe didn't get the D1 looks because they underestimated you based on size, but you still balled out, at class 2A ranks. But what was that like at Plainville High?
Yeah, it was a good time. Obviously, I did football, basketball, and I did track and field as well. So I did as many sports as I could, and just basically did everything growing up. And basketball. A lot of players on the team think that I'm one of the best shooters on the team and stuff like that. So when we go to the rec and play, it's a fun time going there. And but yeah, back in the day, we were a small classification 2A. Like you said, we kind of got underlooked by a lot of schools, and it was really fun, and I loved the grind of being able to go to school and then go to practice for 3 hours and come home and do it all again the next day. So it was just really something that I thought that if I continued to practice and get better at these sports, it would eventually take me to something that I did like to do and play football. So during basketball season, basketball was my favorite sport, and during football season, football was my favorite sport. And obviously, I was a little bit too short and too big to play basketball in college, so football was.
Two-way star in football back in Plainville?
Yeah, I played run. I started out playing offensive line. I was probably the smallest offensive lineman in the whole entire state. I was 5'11", 185 my freshman year, and we went to state that year and lost. But and then about 3 games after my sophomore year started is when I became a running back, and then, I played linebacker my whole entire 4 years at Plainville, so that's what I was.
Posted monster numbers offensively, enough that Les Miles' staff took interest. You grew up obviously watching KU football. I know there was a little bit of Big Red fandom too,
Yeah.
because Plainville is almost as close to Lincoln as it is to Lawrence. So you had some Husker in you as well. But when Les Miles' staff picked up the phone, how surreal was that? And how did the invite unfold from there?
Yeah, I sent out a lot of emails. I mean, my brother talked about it one time on a Twitter post. I sent out a bunch of emails to like all the FPS colleges and just like, hey, introduce myself, like what type of player I am, gave them my film, and I got a few responses, but a lot of them just didn't answer. And KU was fortunately one to answer, and I got a message back from them, got into contact with them, came on a visit, and kind of just all unfolded from there. I did go on a junior day visit to Nebraska, so that was also in the picture, but um, yeah, fortunately, I got a preferred walk-on from KU, and, I knew that it just felt right at that moment, and I took that opportunity and led me, like I said, to where I am and what my career was. So it was just, kinda unfolded there at the last minute.
In 2020, what did a preferred walk-on opportunity entail?
Yeah, it was just basically you were on the team, you have walk-on tryouts and you have preferred walk-on. So if you're a tryout player, you got to go try out to be on the team. And if you're a preferred walk-on, you're on the team, but you're not receiving any scholarship money at the time. So my thought process was, if I go to a JUCO or a Division two, I want to play Division one football someday. But if I go to a JUCO or Division two for 2 years, and then I get an offer, say a scholarship offer from KU or Nebraska or whoever it was, and I go there, I'll probably be just as where I would have been on the depth
Sure.
chart my freshman year than I would be coming in my junior year. So my thought process was just go take that opportunity, go work to what I want to be, earn a scholarship, and go play. And it all unfolded like it was supposed to.
That's a big gamble to take on yourself, though, because the other divisions or classifications would have offered the tuition. At this point, I'm guessing meals, gear, is that about it?
Yeah, the free food and a little bit of shirts and shorts, and that was about it.
So
So
you're paying your own room and board,
yeah.
you're paying your own tuition, but you believed deep down you could work your way into a scholarship.
Yep. I told my parents, I said, yes, I know this is gonna um be a little bit of a financial burden at the time because obviously college is not inexpensive to go to. So I told them I'm gonna work my way up and I'm gonna get a scholarship, and they believed in me, and all my family did. And I got texts and stuff from other coaches being like, this isn't gonna work out like you think it's going to, or you're not gonna play there and stuff like that. Well, look now. So yeah, so that's just my thought
These
process.
were coaches that were still trying to get you to their respective schools and saying, "Hey, man, that dream's too big. Come be a stud for us. Don't waste your time there."
Yep, it was before I even, like, signed my letter of intent. It was basically when I made my commitment
Mm.
post, and, I had these coaches being like, "Yeah, you're not gonna play there," and stuff like that. So what makes you think that I wanna come play for you if you're telling me
Yeah,
I'm not gonna play? So, yeah, it was a little bit weird, but I knew that that was the right decision.
and just fuel to your fire, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly, and motivation aspect of I knew I could play, but, just motivation of the other people telling me I
yeah.
couldn't, so
We won't spend a ton of time talking about it, but your first year on campus obviously was the COVID shortened season. Heck, you couldn't even locker room with the rest of the team. They stuck all you true freshmen in the
yeah.
visitors' locker rooms. What'd you tell me? You barely had a rod to hang your clothes on?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the visitors' locker room isn't all that great at
Right.
the stadium right now, but, probably will be a little better next year or the year after when it gets all done, but, yeah, we had to get separated because of COVID and, the social distancing and whatnot, so we put us all in the little locker room while everyone else enjoyed the nice locker room, so
Wasn't exactly glamorous D1 college football like you probably dreamed, but that was a weird time for everybody back then. Obviously, it didn't work out with Coach Miles. Lance Leipold comes in. Everybody gets a clean slate at that point. But I would imagine, while to some degree that's exciting, I got a chance to prove myself with these new position coaches and head coach. On the other hand, it might be a little bit concerning. Like, they didn't invite me here. I'm not one of their guys. What was your mindset with the new staff coming in, and then when did Lance and his staff convince you there's gonna be a place for Jared Casey on this Kansas football program?
You know, I was concerned a little bit, especially because I learned that there wasn't really gonna be a fullback in that offense. So I was like, "Well, what am I gonna do now?" You know? So I went into meetings with Coach Leipold and Coach K at the time, Coach Kotelnicki, he's at Penn State now, but, um, you know, they said that they've watched film and they've heard from the previous staff, like, you know, that you can play a little bit of the tight end slash H-back role that we have, and, you know, inline tight end may not be your thing with hand in the dirt, but we can put you in the slot, we can put you in the backfield, and, like, we're gonna find a place for you to be able to play, so that made me feel a little bit more at ease, and, I still had that same mindset of I'm gonna work my way up because
Yep.
obviously I was buried down on the depth chart still, and I would probably be even more buried at tight end than I was at fullback. So, it was a little bit more comforting when I met with them, and it was right away when that staff came in and they talked to me about, "Hey, we can find a role for you and you'll be able to play." So,
Tell me about that initial tight end group that you were a part of, a group that you ended up playing with for multiple seasons. But at the time in 2021, Lance's first year, you were probably fifth on the depth chart to start the year,
yeah.
maybe fourth on the depth chart to start the Texas week
Yep.
before you got in and made the biggest catch, certainly in the modern era of KU football. Um, Tell me about that group, though, because you had some pretty household names that you were not only competing with, but I would imagine some of these guys were mentors to you.
Yeah, I, obviously had Mason and Trevor and Matt Copeland, Spencer Rowe, we were all there, and we all you know, and Ben Miles was still on the roster as well, so he was another fullback that was probably in the same predicament as me. It's just like, "Well, what are we gonna do here?"
Sure.
So, yeah, a lot of those guys, you know, we bonded really well, and there was obviously a lot of competition, and we didn't really know what the future held at the time because even when Coach Miles, got fired, we still had that little period of spring ball where we didn't really have head coach yet. We had an interim head coach, and we had a different offense coordinator, and it was all kind of just a whirlwind in those few
Right.
months, and we didn't know what was going on, so we all kinda just stuck together, and, you know, we made slight jokes here and there. It's like, "Well, what are we gonna do? Like, we don't even have a head coach yet. We don't even have a position coach yet. Like, what's going on?" So, I think just sticking together, and, I mean, we obviously can call each other anytime now and
Yeah.
just, you know, joke about those types of days and just talk with each other, so it's a real good bond that we all have.
Coach Kotelnicki became your position coach, right? And he
Yep.
nicknamed you the wise guys,
Yep.
as in the Y position. Tell me a little bit about the origin of his leadership in that group, you guys latching onto that name, and the fun camaraderie you had in that room early in your career.
Yeah, it was a good time. I mean, we obviously, having the offense coordinator as your position coach was a little bit of an addition to what you're gonna be able to play, and, um, you know, you had more plays than more tight ends would have because you get the offense coordinator calling your plays, and, you know, he always was like, if you guys don't play well, then I'll just take you guys out of the game plan, then it won't even matter." So, you know, just having him and being able to talk to him about the offense and, getting to know it more and more because it was pretty vanilla, obviously, in 2021. We were all trying to learn, like, you know, especially me and Ben, like, are we fullbacks? Are we tight
Sure,
ends? We
sure,
didn't
sure.
know what was going on. So, um, yeah, we all just kinda stuck together, and Coach K obviously was a great coach, great
Yeah,
offensive mind, and, he knows what he's doing, and obviously that showed as we continued to, you know, stack wins, especially after that 2021 season and going to the bowl game in 22 and, 23 played a great season as well. So he was a big,
absolutely.
big factor for our offense.
Man, that's great. Well, the moment you're most remembered for, obviously, was the Texas game. Before we talk about that, I want to talk briefly about your parents, Jerry and Karen, because their support to me is what it's all about. The fact that they've logged, what'd you tell me? They got 360,000 miles on their minivan
Yep.
going all up and down I-35 in all parts
Yep.
of Big 12 country. Flew to your games later in the career when the Big 12 map expanded a little
Yep.
bit. But I mean, that's the ultimate sign of parental support, of doing whatever it takes to travel any distance to be there for their son. So much so that even before Lance and Coach K arrived, when you finally got to travel for the first time as a freshman down to Lubbock, this would have been 2020, right?
Yep. Yep.
Who was waiting for you when the team plane landed?
Oh
What
my
was your reaction?
gosh. Yeah, it was and I'm like, I mean, everyone kinda knows my parents now and their faces and stuff, but that freshman year, nobody really knew who I was or my parents were, and so we landed in Lubbock, and we're just driving the buses onto the hotel, and I look over to the side, and lo and behold, my parents are the only one within 5 miles of the airport, just sitting outside their van videoing the buses go by, and I'm just like, "Oh, man." I just looked the other way, and I had my headphones on, and I text them, I said, "What are you guys doing? Please just go to your hotel." But no, I was all jokes. I was just they were excited for me, and, I mean, I called them earlier in the week, and I think it was on Wednesday when I found out I was traveling, and, we left a few days later,
Yeah.
but I was like, "Hey, you guys got any plans this weekend?" And they're like, "Oh, no." They're like I was like, "You guys wanna drive to Lubbock?" And they exploded on the phone. They're all excited, so, it's just a funny story that my family and I have, so
I've made that drive a time or 12, and that's about 8 or 9
yeah.
hours from where they're coming from, and so I'm sure while it was a long trek, it was one they were so proud to make, and the devotion and the pride to be there for their son, off the charts. I referenced that before we talk about Texas because Jerry and Karen, to me, are as much a part of my memory of that night as anything. Obviously, I remember what David and I said in the booth when you made the catch, and folks could go back and listen to that if they want to, but I choose to go back and listen to the play-by-play of Jerry and Karen because his mom pulls out the phone on the famous two-point conversion. She's recording it from the opposite end zone. And before I describe it any further, why don't we just relive it right now?
That was Jared, wasn't it? That was Jared. That was Jared. That was Jared.
It was so raw, it was so real, it was 2 parents, a family of 7, and you're the young one, and you're the kid that's the last of the litter who's living his dreams, and it was Jared, wasn't it? And then your mom
Yeah.
realizes, "Oh my god," and so I remember David jumping out of his chair in the booth and saying, "The pride of Plainville." I remember saying myself, "Jared Casey with the play of his life," but as defining as those Jayhawk Network moments were, the call of Jerry and Karen, if I can recall that highlight. What were you thinking when you saw that clip that went absolutely viral, not just on KU Twitter, but college football Twitter?
Yeah, I think that my brother posted it on his Twitter and, like, the next morning had, like, sums of millions of views, and I was like,
Yes.
"Holy cow," and I think that, um, yeah, like you said, if it wasn't for that video, I mean, it probably wouldn't have been as viral as it was. Obviously, it was a pretty big catch in the time, but, yeah, that video kinda blew it up, and, it's funny you say that you watch my parents' video, but they prefer to watch your video and the call in the booth, so, that's pretty funny, but, yeah, it was a crazy night and, obviously a big moment for me and for, the university, the school, just everybody in general, and, it was a late night as well, getting home at, like, 4:30, so, yeah, it was a crazy weekend, and, I had to get my bearings back because, I mean, I went from 4th string to starting tight end the
Right.
next week, so it was pretty insane.
And I wanna talk about that. Obviously, I didn't set up the actual game because most of us remember it like the back of our hands. 57-56 overtime win. Hawks had lost 56 consecutive Big 12 road games. We were told as Kansas fans in that era, you're not supposed to win on the road with this program, but Lance Leipold was here to change that, and change that he did. Heck, he almost won the next week at TCU. You guys had so much confidence, but that was kind of the team backdrop heading in. For Jared Casey, you said 4th string to start the week. Couple of injuries happened, and then another one to Mason in the game. So pick up the story there. Because to be honest, as a play-by-play guy, even though we prep so thoroughly, we've got a 2 deep, sometimes a 3 deep. We don't have a 4 deep. So we're like scribbling in 47 Casey about halfway through the game. Like, keep an eye on this guy. And thank God we did because you end up making the biggest catch in school history. But talk about kind of that hierarchy and how, you hate to say it, but they were dropping like flies, opportunity knocked, and the mighty Casey answered.
Yeah, I think it was, like, 2 weeks before the game, actually, I was, like, 5th string, to be honest with you. Someone else got hurt, and then 4th string going into the week. Someone else got hurt on a Thursday practice, like a walkthrough type practice deal. Someone else got hurt. Then you said Mason got hurt during the second quarter, I believe, of that game, and all of a sudden I was second string, so I went in there with Trevor Cardell, and we were in 12 personnel most of the game. So, yeah, I kind of set that up, and we, it just kind of took off from there, and um, it was a crazy turn of events. I remember actually FaceTiming my family before the game, just like, wow, the stadium's so like it was the biggest stadium I ever played in my life.
Of
So,
course.
you have 110,000 people sitting in there. So, yeah, it was a whirlwind of events, and like you said, just going from fourth string to basically starting in a matter of minutes. So,
When Mason goes down, you're excited. Are you anxious? What are the other emotions there? Is there even time to have butterflies, or is it all happening so fast at that point? They're just throwing you onto the field and you're locking into game mode.
yeah, I was ready. I mean, I've been waiting on just a single spur of the moment to be able to go and play, and it came, and Coach K was like, I think he ended up. I don't know if he called down or it was at halftime, and he said, "Hey, you ready to go? Like, we need you, and we're not gonna take 12 personnel out of the game, so you're going in." So, it was kinda like, "We hope you know what you're doing because we're putting you in there." So, luckily, I was pretty locked in on the game plan, and, it just changes your mind from going into the game thinking you're just playing special teams, and you're starting now. So, it was really cool.
What rapport or trust did you have with Jalen Daniels at that point? Obviously, he throws your direction with the game on the line, but how much had you been working with him in addition to all of his other targets? How much of a connection did you have at that point so early in both of your careers?
The only time that we probably ever threw ball around or like to each other was routes on air during practice, and that was because I mean I would be with the scout team for most of the practice, and they'll usually they'll bring like the top three tight ends over to practice with the starting offense, and obviously I wasn't at that stage at that time, but after the Texas game I was right on over with the starting
Yeah.
offense, and then we built a pretty strong connection after that. But yeah, JD and I, we came in the same year, we hung out a lot, we were around each other, so we obviously had a connection, but not a throwing connection at the time.
Boy, you made one. Obviously, Devin Neal scores the touchdown to put you within a point. Did you know right away if we score, we're going to try to win it right here, or when did that signal come in and immediately your mind shifts to let's go win this thing?
Yeah, I think we called timeout pretty quickly, and they said we're going for two, and they called 12 personnel, and I was like, okay. So, um, obviously, Trevor and I, we were talking amongst each other, like, hey, are you playing this position? Am I playing this position? We asked Coach K, like, who do you want at what? And we actually ended up like switching spots before the play. So I was supposed to be the inline tight end running the backline dig, and Trevor was supposed to be running the shallow cross. But we switched, and so Trevor ran the backline dig, and I ran the shallow.
Why?
I don't know. That's just what Coach K wanted us
Oh,
at.
he switched it.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay,
We said, where do you want it? Where do you
got it,
want us at?
got it.
And we asked him, and that's what he said. So we went out there, and obviously the play came about and happened, and that's what happened. So it was pretty wild.
We're up there. It's caught, and Kansas will win. And as we're jumping up and down, tackling each other, David's getting teary eyed. You get freaking rocked,
Yeah.
right? But
Yeah.
you hang on to the ball. Pick up the story from there because you got drilled.
Yeah, that dude that hit me, I think he's plays for the Patriots now. He's a good player, safety for them. So, yeah, I saw stars right away because I got hit hard and I hit the ground hard, and then pile started on me, got up, started running, and Jay Webb comes and smacks me on the ground. I about tear my knee in half, get back up, and then I start running down the field and throw my helmet. And the helmet throw was not on purpose. It's just kind of spur of the moment type
Sure,
deal. And
sure.
started celebrating from that then on out. So it was,
And found your family.
yep, yep. I knew where they were sitting at the beginning of the game, and
Yeah,
I didn't know that that's how the game would end. So
man, incredible. Fun reliving one of the great moments in the history of Kansas football, but there's so much more to talk to the mighty Casey about, including that name, the mighty Casey. We'll cover all of that more straight ahead as the fun continues on Haney and the Hawks right here on Kansas Nation. Welcome back to Haney and the Hawks. Catching up today with one of your favorite players and personalities from the Lance Leipold era, the mighty Casey, Jared Casey. I always called you the mighty Casey because I thought this guy's story is mighty. His, underdog to hero star of the game story is big and boisterous. It had nothing to do with the fact that the actual mighty Casey in baseball struck out. But you recently did another interview with one of my buddies from BYU, Cleon Wall, and I discovered in listening to that, you'd never actually read the poem, The Mighty Casey, Casey at the Bat. And so he reveals this to you, and were you thinking, man, I thought Brian was a good guy. He named me after somebody who struck out.
I was listening to this, and as it goes on, it's like building up, and I'm like, "Well, is he gonna hit a homer or something?" It says he strikes out, and I was like, "Well, that was a little odd." So
And you're like, now I don't like the nickname
yeah,
anymore.
I was like, "Yeah, that was a little interesting," but
Let's set the record straight. Instead of somewhere men are laughing, somewhere children shout, but there is no joy in Mudville. The mighty Casey has struck out.
yeah.
Let's change it to there's lots of joy in Lawrence. Our mighty Casey just balled out
There you go.
because
I like
that's what
that
you
one.
did at Texas.
Yeah.
And to me, you were always mighty, even if you weren't the biggest tight end. If it got even within a fingernail of your wingspan, you were going to haul it in. You had those trustworthy hands. No stage was too big, no lights were too bright. Our mighty Casey balled out.
I like
All
that.
right,
I
that's
like
the
that one.
nickname.
Yeah, that's a
Okay,
good one. That's a good
let's
one.
make sure we set the record straight on that. And let's go back again real quickly to that night in Austin because the moment is made, the game is won. How many DMs, notifications, whatever, your phone, I'm sure, is just blowing up at that point. How much did life change? We'll get to Applebee's in a second, but just that night on the bus where you get out of the locker room and oh my gosh, the whole nation is talking about Jared Casey.
Yeah, it was a life-changing event for sure. I would say that I called my family right away. We have a family like group chat, so I FaceTime everybody, and everyone was going crazy and screaming, and I couldn't even hear because I went back up to the field and tried to listen to him, but then JD came back out, so we were talking about it, and it was just kind of crazy. But yeah, it was later on the flight, and I finally just ended up kinda dozing off a little bit, put my phone down, put it on silent, and, yeah, I just kinda left it at that. I answered as many messages and DMs as I possibly could, just saying thank you to everybody, and, I got shown a lot of love, and, but yeah, it was a crazy life-changing event where nobody knew who I was till everybody at KU knew who I was, so
Overnight, you're this cult hero, and overnight in the early stages of the NIL era, Applebee's is saying, "We want this guy, and we want a go for two campaign at Applebee's." What was that like when all of a sudden you had endorsement opportunities and you're filming your own TV commercial?
yeah, so there's a funny story behind this. The week before the Texas game, they were supposed to have the NIL meeting, on the Sunday after the game, and I'm like, "Well, I'm not going to that. I'm not even on scholarship. Why? I'm not going to an NIL meeting. I'm not getting anything." So, they ended up postponing the NIL meeting to the day after the Texas game, but then I had to go to that
Sure.
meeting. So, and yeah, they said, "Yeah, we already have a deal for somebody," and then they pulled me aside and said, "Hey, Applebee's wants to do a deal with you." And I said, well, yeah, sign me up. I'm not getting any money. So, I mean, I'd love to do something. And I think it was Tuesday that week, and I show up, and um, I thought it was a photo shoot. And there's like cameras kind of set up all over with different angles and big flashy lights. And I'm like, well, what's going on? They're like, we're actually going to shoot a commercial. I'm like, okay. So it was, yeah, it was pretty wild. And the commercial came out pretty quickly after that. And yeah, it was also very, very wild experience.
And at this point, as you said, you're still not on scholarship. So this was a big opportunity
Yep.
and a meaningful one in terms of helping cover tuition and all that. But it wasn't too long after that that Kansas says, you know what, this is our guy and we're going to take care of him. Just to kind of fill in the blanks, your next two games, you didn't win them, but you darn near won at TCU. And some of your best career numbers were the last two games of that season in Fort Worth and at home versus West Virginia. A couple of four catch performances, a touchdown in each of those two games. You put a lot on film in those final 3 weeks. At what point does the conversation start to be had? We got to get this guy a scholarship.
Yeah, it was, we had those conversations pretty quickly. We had end of year meetings in December, after that last game against West Virginia. And, they said, we're really excited for what you've done. And, um, obviously we're gonna have Mason coming back and Trevor coming back, and we're gonna be healthy again. And I said, I understand that. I'm still gonna work, and I know that I'm probably not gonna be the starter guy because Mason was gonna be coming back too. So um, they said we want to see how spring goes, and I was like, well, yeah, because it was just a 3-game performance. So obviously you probably need to see more from me, and I think it was pretty quickly within a few months of I kept being consistent with making plays and doing what they want me to do, and um, going into a leadership type of role and guy.
Sure.
And they were like, yeah, I mean, they pulled me in, and they let me know I was on scholarship, called my parents and
Yeah.
everything. So yeah, it was pretty quick after those few games that they let me know I was going to be put on scholarship.
They called your parents with you, or you called them?
Yeah, so I was in Leipold's office, and we FaceTimed my parents at that time. So
That's the good stuff.
yeah, it was a pretty special moment. So
That's so cool.
yeah,
How would you describe your relationship with Coach Leipold? You talked about Andy Kotelnicki earlier, who was your original tight end coach after the Leipold era began. But what about Coach, and how fulfilling was it to play an integral role in the ascent of his program here, and now to look at the trajectory KU football is at? That's got to be something that brings about immense pride, knowing what a hand you had in that.
yeah. Coach Leipold's a great coach, and he's obviously very organizational and very strict on how he wants things ran. And um, what we all wanted when they came in, and that those first meetings came in, and Leipold asked like, "What's like a main thing that I can do that will help us win here?" And most of our answers were structure. We never really had like a organized type of structure. Like we weren't disciplined, we weren't anything like that, and he brought that all in one. And not only him, but the whole staff. And he obviously instilled in his staff like what he wants and how he wants it ran. And he's obviously doing a great job with it. So Coach Leipold's a great coach and even better guy. You can go into his office and chop it up with him
Yeah.
for however long until he's got another meeting with somebody else. So, yeah, you can go to him about personal matters. You can call him at any time. He's gonna text you, check in on you. So, he gave me like Coach K started the nickname of Sizzle, so they call me Jay Sizzle, and he always just calls me like he was walking down the hill of the first game of the season and he says Sizzle, and he calls me out, and I go and dab him up. So, yeah, he's a great coach and a great guy.
Jay Sizzle,
Yeah,
exactly the type of like persona and swag you'd expect a guy from Plainville to have.
yeah, I
Jay
love
Sizzle, I
it.
love it. What you said about Coach Leipold is so true. And folks see like the happy birthday tweets and stuff like that, but it's so much more than that in terms of caring about each individual on that roster. The fact that he had the open door policy, you could come in and chop it up, as you said, whenever you wanted to. The fact that he checks in on you, wanted to be a part of the FaceTime on the scholarship
Yep.
call to your folks. I mean, I don't think you get that everywhere. The great coaches maybe, but sometimes there's distance and separation from the man in the iron, the high castle or whatever, and the players down below,
Yeah.
right? That to me seems special with Lance Leipold.
Yeah, I like you said, I mean, the open door type deal and just being able to communicate with them
Yeah,
is probably not the same thing everywhere. And um, that's like the personal side of things is, he knows where Plainville's at. He knows how many people there. He knows like my backstory. He knows that about every player. He knows what their family situation is. Like he obviously takes time to understand you as a person
yeah,
and as a player. And I feel like that's kind of going away with coaches, and that's something that he's always kept
yeah.
up with and stuck with is just being able to understand where his players are coming from and what their background is, and how they've had it in life. And he understands that, and obviously he wants you to perform on the field, but he understands like we're human too, so we got lives to live, and we got things that are going on. And he always, I would just say like as there was like a couple people had deaths in the family during the season, and some coaches be like, "No, you need to stay here, and we need you to practice." But he let you go home, fly home on a Wednesday or Thursday, and go visit your family. So it's just like those type of deals that make him different than the others.
He gets it for sure. Well, we're running low on time. I do want to ask you a couple final questions before we get to our 2-minute drill, which is the fast and furious close to the show. One, though, to kind of succinctly wrap up your career after all that talk about your freshman year, you have a chance to play in 2 bowl games and with 2 different quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And so I'm wondering, what's it like catching passes from Jalen Daniels? What's it like catching passes from Jason Bean? And what were each of those experiences like for you? The kid that grew up just wanting to play D1 football anywhere, you get to play in the Liberty Bowl, you get to play in the Guaranteed Rate Bowl, you're playing in these awesome venues against big time programs. That had to be amazing.
Yeah, it was wild. Obviously, the differences and the quarterbacks is there's not really too many differences. I mean, it was just like they're both great quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Obviously, Jason's had his stint with the Colts. I believe he's still possibly with them, not sure. And then JD's obviously here for his sixth season, and it's just insane being able to play with those. They're obviously bigger names in college football, and you got to play with both of them. You got to catch passes from both of them, and be a big part of the offense with both of them. So um, not only alone the quarterbacks, but you mentioned the bowl games and being able to be a part of that in our first bowl game and however long it was. And obviously, we fell up short of the Arkansas win, and then got a big win against UNLV in the Guaranteed Rate Bowl, and it was just an experience unlike any other because KU hasn't been able to felt that like in multiple years, and just being able to be blessed to be in that position and win games and win enough games to get to a bowl game and spend a week with your guys.
Yeah.
That's just a good thing. Is I would say, Memphis was a little bit harder to have a fun time than going to Phoenix, Arizona. Is just nice weather out there
Yeah.
and being able to go do different things. So, yeah, it was a heck of a career, and I mean, I wouldn't trade it for anything.
In a second, I'm going to ask you about your favorite win other than the Texas win. And
Mhm.
if the answer is beating Oklahoma, then don't give me too much right here on that. But Jason Benetti's call that day was a generational win for Kansas. And that was so spot on because it really was.
Yep,
You don't get a chance to beat Oklahoma very often, much like the first time we beat Nebraska in almost 40 years. It felt different.
yep.
What was it like being a part of the locker room that day? What was it like having a hand in truly a generational victory for the Jayhawks?
It was just kinda surreal. I mean, we hadn't beat Oklahoma in what, 15 or 16? I don't know, it was a lot of years, and just being a part of the generational win, as you said, is like, um, this is kinda like the new norm around here, like, we're winning, and like, my freshman year was just like, can we stay close to these guys? Can we, lose by 20?"
Yeah.
Like, that was just kinda like the mindset, and then it shifted, like, we expect to win every game, and that was a big win, and, just being a part of that, and I remember everyone storming the field, and somehow my family made it onto the field, and they found me, and like, I don't know, it was just like a real emotional moment just
Sure.
being there with them and, them being able to come on the field and, just the atmosphere, and obviously, I'm a cold weather game type of guy, and it was cold that day, and it just was like all of this was happening at once. We just beat Oklahoma, it was cold, it was my favorite weather, all my family was there and everything all happened at once, it was insane, so
Incredible stuff. So many firsts you were a part of, that's for sure. Before we close it down with the 2-minute drill, you did have a chance to be a part of a couple of the rookie mini camps with Kansas City Chiefs, a team that you grew up cheering for, the Miami Dolphins as well. You used the word surreal a second ago. How surreal was it to put on a number 45 Chiefs jersey, to be making one-handed catches and balling out at the Chiefs rookie mini camp? I know Patrick wasn't there for that, but your lockers a few feet over from 15 Mahomes. That had to be pinch myself. Oh my gosh, is this happening type stuff. What was that whole experience like?
yeah, it was like you said, it was pretty surreal coming from a small town, Plainville, Kansas, to being able to play at arguably one of the greatest organizations in the NFL. So, obviously, I was there for a few days, and it was a great experience. And like you said, I played pretty well, and hopefully, I'll get a chance up there someday again. But yeah, it was really awesome. And then the week after, I flew down to Miami, and got to experience that as well. Great organization, being able to play more of a fullback type of role down there, and made a few plays here and there, and hopefully get a chance there also.
Yeah,
So just, it is a pinch me moment because you go from playing 1A, 2A football to
yeah,
going to have a chance in the NFL, and it's just kinda like you look back on it and it's like, "Wow." And then you think about all the wins and the
sure.
bowl games and everything. It's like it all flew by really quickly, and now I'm trying to get to an even higher level of football, so
Well, your reputation precedes you in terms of your work ethic, your character. Obviously, everybody loves a story of triumph on somebody that maybe was overlooked or counted out. We love that. But the bottom line is this guy's a baller, and this guy's an awesome teammate, sets the standard for work ethic. I see you working out every single day at the KU facilities now, training for that next opportunity, that next phone call. So before we close it down, look at that camera right there. What do UFL GMs and coaches need to know about you? What do coaches at any professional football level need to know about Jared Casey that they haven't already seen or heard?
I'm a winner. I'm a hard worker. That's what you're gonna get from me. And if you give me a chance, I promise you, you will not be disappointed. So give me a chance, and you'll see what happens.
So well said. Love it. All right. Last couple of minutes. It's the 2-minute drill. Just give me quick answers on these. We'll run through them in rapid fire fashion. The pride of Plainville. If we went to Plainville today, where would you take me? What's the go-to spot, whether it's a watering hole or a great kitchen? What's the spot in Plainville?
There's only like 3 restaurants in Plainville, so I'd take you to the burger place, and it's called I don't even know what it's called, to be
Is it
honest with
Burgers
you.
and Brews or something like that? Burgers and
It
Beer?
used to be called Burger and Beer, but now it's a new name. The
Okay.
Handlebar. The Handlebar
Handlebar.
Tavern, I think is what it's called.
I did Google this
I'll
earlier
take you there.
today, but I
The
didn't know it was the
Handlebar.
handlebar. Okay. And we would order what?
I'm just gonna I'll get a burger and fries, but you could get the chicken strips and fries. Those are good too.
Okay. Did he just, is that like saying I need to like watch my weight? He lets me get chicken while
I
he
don't know
gets
if
a
chicken
burger.
strips are
I have
even
put on a
any
couple
healthier
recently.
than burgers. So
Mid-40s, we got to watch our weight. All right. That's good. All right. Other than the Texas 2-point conversion, favorite catch of your career was what?
ooh, gosh. I'll go TCU game, the week after the one-hander
Yeah,
on the sideline.
that was pretty special.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Other than the Texas win, your favorite win was what?
2022 at West Virginia. Kobe Bryant pick 6 to finish it off.
Kobe Bryant, who you told us earlier, like incredible personality, funniest guy in the locker room. Any Kobe stories you can bust out?
Oh gosh, there's too many to say. I'm gonna keep them to myself.
Not even a little morsel?
I don't even. There's one morning before practice. It's like 6:45 a.m. So everybody's pretty groggy and tired at that
Yeah.
time, trying to wake up. He goes over and puts on Mike Nowitzki, his helmet, his big old shoulder pads, and jersey, and starts like kickstanding like he's being an offensive lineman, and everyone's like, "Bro, it's 6 o'clock." But everyone was just clowning him, so I would say that's
He
just
always had that energy about him.
yeah,
So here he is, like he's 165 soaking wet
yeah.
in full blown offensive line gear.
2-3X jersey all the
Oh
way
my
down
gosh.
to his knees. Yeah, it was funny.
That's good. All right, and finally, in our 2-minute drill, greatest tight end of all time.
Oh gosh. Um,
Because there's more than just pass catching stats that go into this. Blocking, all kinds of things. Leadership, athlete, whatever. Greatest tight end in your opinion.
I mean, even though I'm a Chiefs guy, I'll have to say Rob Gronkowski.
How about that?
I
Based
mean,
on the blocker too?
I would, I'm getting thumbs down over there. I would say, I would just say that all around. I mean, him and Tom had a great
Yeah,
thing for many years,
yeah,
and just being able to not only his blocking, his catches were insane. He would
for
get
sure.
open against anybody, and
For sure.
so yeah, I'll have to go with Rob.
Okay. Very
Yeah,
good. I don't disagree.
yeah.
That's good stuff. Jared, one of my all-time favorite guys I ever had a chance to cover. So proud of
So
you.
much.
Your previous chapters have been riveting, edge of your seat type stuff. I cannot wait to see this guy's next chapter. I know there's
Sir,
big stuff in front of you.
appreciate that.
God bless you, man.
Yes,
Great to see
sir.
you.
Thank you.
The mighty KC, Jay Sizzle, right here on Haney and the Hawks on Kansas Nation.